In the late 1960s, a shadow fell over Northern California. A killer who craved the spotlight, who played a deadly game with the public and the police, and who gave himself a chilling name, the Zodiac. For decades, his identity has remained one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries. This is the story of the man who terrorized a generation and then vanished, leaving behind a legacy of fear and a series of cryptic puzzles that continue to haunt us to this day. The terror began on a quiet road on December 20th, 1968. High school students, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, were on their first date. They were shot and killed in a brutal, senseless attack. It was the first act in a bloody drama that would unfold over the next year. On July 4th, 1969, another couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, were shot in their car. Darlene died, but Michael miraculously survived, giving police the first description of the attacker, a heavy-set man with a wide face. Just minutes later, a man called the police, calmly confessing to the crime and the murders from the previous December. The Zodiac had found his voice. But he didn't just want to talk, he wanted an audience. Less than a month later, 3 major San Francisco newspapers received nearly identical letters. In a messy, childish scrawl, the author claimed responsibility for the attacks and included details only the killer could know. He threatened more violence if the papers didn't publish his letter, which included a bizarre 408-symbol cipher. He signed it with a cross-circle symbol, a mark that would become synonymous with terror. A week later, a schoolteacher and his wife cracked the code. The message was a terrifying glimpse into a disturbed mind, rambling about collecting slaves for the afterlife. The Zodiac's game had begun. He struck again in broad daylight on September 27, 1969, at Lake Berryessa. Wearing a strange, hooded executioner's costume adorned with his symbol, he tied up and brutally stabbed another young couple, Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard. He then wrote the dates of his attacks on their car door. Cecilia died from her injuries. 2 weeks later, San Francisco taxi driver Paul Stein was shot and killed in his cab. As police arrived, they unknowingly passed the suspect walking away from the scene. The Zodiac had become bolder, more brazen. Days later, he mailed a piece of Stein's blood-soaked shirt to the San Francisco Chronicle, proving his involvement beyond any doubt. With this letter came another threat. He was going to target a school bus full of children. Panic gripped the entire Bay Area. The investigation was one of the largest in California history, yet it was plagued by frustration. The Zodiac's letters, filled with taunts, new ciphers and bomb diagrams, kept coming, but tangible leads were scarce. Thousands of tips poured in, and hundreds of people were investigated. Over the years, one name repeatedly surfaced: Arthur Lee Allen, a former schoolteacher with a troubled past. Allen owned the same brand of typewriter used in some letters, wore a Zodiac brand watch, and was identified by a survivor as a possible suspect. A search of his home revealed suspicious materials, but the evidence was always circumstantial. His fingerprints and DNA never matched the samples collected. Allen died in 1992, taking any secrets he might have had to the grave. The official letters stopped in 1974, and the Zodiac Killer faded into a phantom. He was never caught. The case remains open in several jurisdictions, a cold file that refuses to be closed. The Zodiac's reign of terror inspired movies, books, and countless amateur sleuths, embedding him in our cultural psyche. He created a persona, a monster in the dark who communicated directly with the world, turning his crimes into a public spectacle. He wasn't just a killer, he was a storyteller, and his final chapter was to disappear, leaving us with the most unsettling ending of all, a question mark. The name, the symbol, and the unsolved ciphers are all that remain of the ghost who called himself the Zodiac. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please like and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries.